All right, nice, nice little graphic there, Frank. Appreciate that. That's a good happy birthday. Welcome in everybody to the Mountaineer Post Game Show. Thank you, Frank, for that, and thank you, Mountaineers, for a nice birthday present. Man, oh man, who would have thought we'd be sitting here talking about this right now at 4 o'clock this afternoon? A big upset as the Mountaineers come out on top. What a game, guys! I tell you what, where's that team been? My goodness.
Hey, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, we definitely we talked about getting improvement today. I think we had way better improvement, and then the best thing is we walked away with a victory. So anytime you get improvement with a victory, you can't beat that. That's for sure. So there was a lot of things going good for us, and that whole set of refs that's down there in Texas, Lord have mercy, they need to go back to school. So those were terrible. There should have been no calls, but I mean, I'm sure Vegas was in their air, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking while the game was going on. My cousin and fussing, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. These guys are blind. But as excited as we are about the game, I tell you what, I watch them, and I watch that offensive line, and I'm thinking, my gosh, we've been critical of these guys all year long, and I think this was even a better performance in the Pitt game by far for our offensive line. I mean, when's the last time we saw our offensive line, when you get bottled up and the running back and you push him forward for 6, 7, 8 yards, and that was crucial in the game. And our offensive line just pretty much dominated those guys, and that's one of the top-ranked defensive lines in the country. And I was very pleased to see that. I just thought, man, because I've been critical of this offensive line all year long and thinking, we got to get some of this stuff fixed and blitzes and that sort of thing. Today they operated and they manhandled Houston's defensive front. So I was, very impressed with that. Very pleased with that.
Yeah, that was very good trench warfare for the day. I'll give them that.
Yep.
So give them the kudos. But it's kind of funny. Towards the end, they that big old lineman that pulled the guy forward, and then they say, oh, you took it away because it's an assisted run. Well, if that's the case, then anytime they're running through one of their holes, it's an assisted play, right? So
yeah,
unbelievable.
But I'll say this on that play. I'm not sure that didn't end up helping us because he assisted him. If he hadn't assisted him, he wouldn't have got the first down. And he did assist him, which was illegal, pulled him forward. But then we got another shot at it. So, I guess in the end it helped us a little bit.
For that play it did, but I mean,
you're right.
It just gave us longer yardage to get a first down,
That's
which
right.
sometimes that's harder than you think.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what the difference is in assisting a guy by shoving him in the back or assisting him by pulling him in the front. I don't know what's the difference. I mean, if you're blocking for him, you're assisting him.
Well, when you're down there in deep-hearted Houston, Texas, I'm sure those refs were like trying to do anything they could do to hold us back. But whatever.
And Frank, I'm not going to lie. As we narrowed it down toward the end of the game, I dipped into the I don't know if you can see it or not, but I dipped into the chocolate crown for a celebration drink here on my birthday. Yeah, baby, we're going to celebrate this one.
Yeah, happy birthday
right.
too, by the way.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
I will say, though, Greg, I have to report you. That's a violation of the voice of college football. And the penalty is you've got to send me 3 bottles of scotch and 2 cases of beer.
Well, you know what I think we're going to have to do is go back and look through our past shows, and we've got a lot of people that's going to owe some fines, I think.
Yeah.
Based on some of our shows we've had. not me and you, but our guests.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, I was looking at halftime at ESPN. They have the stats, and it said that Houston was a 72.2% chance to win. But then I went back and looked at my notes from Wednesday night, and I mentioned that in the last two games, Houston was outscored in the second half by Arizona State and Arizona together, 30-3, and we got them 14-3, which means that they've been outscored in the second half in the last three games, 34-10. So I never expected that quarterback to be able to. I mean, as you know, I mean, it was flashed on the screen, 17 points on turnovers, and he lost two balls in his hands.
His hands.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and he actually had three, one that we didn't recover, but yeah, and we were talking about our guys not quitting and playing hard and that sort of thing. I really thought in the fourth quarter it looked to me like Houston just their defense just kind of I wouldn't say they quit, they just kind of whatever.
Well, they weren't as intense as they started. We'll just put it that way. How about that?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, and I think that was.
They felt the day closing in on them. That's for sure.
Yeah, and they felt the will of our offensive line. I just felt like our offensive line just came out with an attitude today.
And how about Hubbard ran really well. I mean, think about how well he ran. That's a lot of yards, right? So good for him.
Yep.
He don't get there without any holes. You know what I'm saying? So
that's exactly right.
He 108 yards today, Mike, on 29 carries. And Scotty Fox had 65 more, and Bowers had 60. I mean, 65. So Hubbard 108, Fox 65, Bowers 65 for a total of, and then Clay Ash had 14 for a total of 246.
Yeah, usually if you can run that many, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something else. Scotty Fox, he seems to be relaxing a little bit. And Joey Foster with a comment. Let's get back to Morgantown.
Yeah.
Prime time on there. There you go. And we've got new life, baby. New life.
Hey, Joey, good to have you with us.
Seems to be getting more and more comfortable. And really he looked comfortable back there today throwing the ball. He had a couple, missed throws, a little underthrow one timer with Vaughn. But other than that, he's looking more and more comfortable every game, and the more he plays, the better he's going to get. And I tell you what, and I think all this, and I think Mike has talked about this numerous times. How everything is a machine that works together, and you got to have this part and this part and this part all working together. And it seems like when that quarterback has calmed down, he's throwing the ball well. We get a couple of good, nice runs. It just seems like everything meshes together, and we just perform so much better when a few things work in the beginning. And I think today, when that first drive we came out, we don't want to miss out on that. We come out and drove the ball right down the field, scored a touchdown, held on defense, got the kick, the punt, went I think 89 yards on the next drive. Drove right down the field. When that kind of thing happens, it just seems like the whole machine starts working better together. And I just think our offensive line fed off that today. Very, very impressed with them. And, not just the offensive line, but I thought our defensive line played pretty well too. We gave up some plays. I think to me, the only, and as Mike said before the game, our defensive backs and Tanner also, defensive backs got to do a better job back there covering people. I thought our defensive backs did a pretty good job covering folks for the most part. I thought our linebackers struggled a little bit today as a negative. That's the big negative I took out of the game.
The thing about that, you might want to talk about this, Mike. I agree with you. We were talking before we got on, Greg. A couple of those interference calls really weren't.
Oh, God. Horrible. Especially the last one. I mean, first of all, the guy is in the end zone behind the play, and that was good defense. I mean, the defensive back went up. He had his head turned. He deflected the ball. There was very little contact. And, if you think about that one and you go back to when Cam Vaughn caught the touchdown pass, if you remember that play in the first half, the defensive back was draped all over him and grabbing and pulling, clearly interfered with him, but he still caught the ball. And there was not even an attempt at a call there. He didn't even act like he was going to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that play right there, I was just like, so inconsistent. And like Mike said, who knows what Las Vegas is doing in the
the problem. I mean, obviously the problem is the whole world's seen it. Me, you, and Frank saw it, and then they're going to sit there and throw that in your face. And I mean, I think that that those were obviously not pass interference, but they make the rule for that moment in time. But it's just like that's just let the players play the game and just I just didn't care for that. I mean, I'm glad we won the game because I can't tell you how many different places I went throughout my time, and the last thing the coach told us is we're gonna have to play above the refs' calls because we're going into unfriendly territory. So it's like so this has been going on for a long time, but just you hate to see it right in your face, especially with the way you could rewind and look at things and see again and again. So, but I'm glad we came away with the victory. Way to go! That's all I got to say.
Yeah, one thing to follow
kills me too about that, Mike. Frank, don't mean to interrupt, but before we move on, what kills me about that as well, and I hate this, they bring in this guy that's a former official, the rules analyst, and he's like, well, you can clearly see that he's hurt his head. Come on, man. I'm sitting here watching the same replay you're watching, and that was not pass interference, but they always try to make sure they justify the call and get it right.
That's the guy that's the guy that tries to beat it into the public's head like our guys on the field are doing the right call. I mean, the whole world can see it. We all know what it really was. And shame on them for not utilizing that tool for what it really is supposed to be used for, since you're going to use it.
Yes, yeah. If you're going to use it, use it. Yeah. And I'm all for, changing this pass interference rule anyway. I've always said, you know what, in my mind, now, I'm not saying a defensive back's be able to just tackle a receiver, but when they're going for the football, just go get it. Whoever can.
He has just as much right to that ball as that offensive does.
That's right. Yeah. And
but we
puts his hand on him.
Yeah, but listen, we live in a game of rules that's one-sided, mostly for the offense. So because it helps create fantasy football, fever for the whole rest of the country.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep, you are exactly right. Yep.
Hey, Mike, as a former defensive lineman, you'll be happy to hear this. Houston's rushing 31 carries, 82 yards for a 2.6 average.
Yeah, very good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the defensive line played well. Yeah.
Anytime you hold them under 100, that's a big damn day. So.
Yep. And they got pressure on the quarterback, which helped a lot, especially later on in the game. And like I said, we gave up some plays, but it wasn't always. I felt like
we gave up a lot of yards after the catch and yards after the first hit on a run, which really just blows your mind because it's like, man, we got to figure out how we could swarm more people to the ball, run to the ball. So,
Hey, Mike, their average going into this game, yards rushing 172. So their average is 172. They were almost 100. They were more than 100. Well, about 100 below it today. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's great. Gotta love it.
Yep, absolutely.
Especially down there. Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
That's another thing. You look at what we're up against. You're playing the number 22 team on the road. Not only that, you're going down there and playing a game that is, it's 11 o'clock Eastern time. 12 o'clock Eastern time, rather, 11 o'clock. And I'm just like, first of all, I think the schedulers booger that stuff up and we always seem to bear the brunt of it. That's not an easy task, to go down and play that early of a game, on the road traveling so far. And so hats off to our guys for just going down there and showing out, man. I mean, but again, and I think this happens a lot with younger teams. And I know we got some older guys playing, but we got a lot of young people on that team. It happens a lot when you get off to a bad start, it just kind of snowballs and gets worse and worse and worse. When you get off to a good start, it seems like it does the same thing. It gets better and better and better. And I just think with this team, when we get off to a good start like that, who knows? Who knows what they can accomplish, because that was just a good effort from beginning to end today. I felt like all along we're going to win this game. We got a shot here, especially after the way it started. So, with a young team like this, I think that's just encouraging. Yeah, very encouraging.
Yeah, I agree. Anytime, listen, if my first 3 plays were pretty good plays and I, was into that rhythm, then it was good for me the rest of the game. But the other team, they do a whole lot to try to make you have bad plays to start with. So it was good to see them off to a good start. And it wasn't just the first series. It was the first series. It was the second series. It was the third series. So, that's a lot of improvement. Usually after, the script, you run through the script, the other team gets the idea, and then they usually have the antidote to shut you down. But they kind of, West Virginia kept ahead of that today. That's for sure.
Here's another stat, guy. Here's another stat, guys, and then we have a question I'll put up from Joey. Is that leading up to today, they had only 4 turnovers the entire year, 3 interceptions and a fumble. Today they had 4. We had 4 takeaways. So this is a question for you, Mike. I think you've answered it, but I don't know if you can see the screen. I'll read it. I have a question for Mike from Joey Foster. Are you happy with our D? Would you do something different? How do you think the new defensive staff is doing? And he thinks the secondary looks better, but under Brown. But are you happy with the D? Would you do something different? How do you think the new staff is doing?
I personally think the staff is doing pretty well. The D is doing more improvements. That they look really good. I just would encourage them to, get more people running to the ball. Not that they're not running to the ball. I don't care where the ball goes. I want all 11 of my guys running to the ball, because you don't know what's going to happen if you do that. So somebody can drop the ball, somebody can pick up the ball. I mean, think about what happened today with all those different turnovers. And the best part about the turnovers that we got today is we had an offense that could go get us some points from it. So, I mean, that's starting to play winning football, and that's what I really like seeing that today. Much improved. And, the defense has got some work to do. But, everybody's got to just keep getting better, and that's the name of this game.
Yeah, I'll tell you another thing too, Frank. One thing today we were so much better at, and Mike talked about it, that offense getting going. We didn't have a lot of those, in past games when we've gotten drubbed. We had those series where, we run the ball on first down and get a yard. We lose 3 on second down. Then we throw a pass on third down incomplete. Then we punt and we run off, 42 seconds off the clock. We didn't have those today. And we struggled with that this year, where we have, had those really quick offensive series where we end up having to put the ball away. Today, our offense clicked up for, even when we had to punt, we got a couple of first downs, gave the defense time to rest a little bit, and then punted the football away. And I think that helped the defense a lot as well. And like Mike said, we got some improvement to do. I mean, there's some things still yet that obviously need worked out. I think, like Mike said, running to the football definitely needs to improve. Our open field tackling needs to get better. We missed a lot of tackles today in the open field. And then I think our linebacker play needs to be improved just a little bit.
Yeah,
I thought they struggled covering.
Yeah, they made a lot of extra yards after the first hit or stumble when whoever got the ball, whether it was a run or a pass. So I'd like to see them getting taken down faster, and the only way to do that is, you got to have everybody come running and swarming to the ball. So lots of good things happen to a team when you run like you're running for your life to go get that person with that ball. So good things happen on a field when you do that.
Yeah, I think you saw that on the punt, for example, that we recovered. We had,
Yep.
the
Special teams. Very important.
Guy who recovered. Yep. Guy who recovered the punt was just one who ran there and was waiting. That they were waiting on the ball to stop rolling, whatever, and it hits the guy, and that guy's just standing there. So he ran to the ball, and opportunistic, he got the recovery just because he was in the right spot. So,
yep.
That's important. They've got to do that. And, too, when you're open field tackling, and like I said, a lot of those, it was linebackers missing those tackles. But if you got other people running to that ball and they miss, there's somebody there to pick up the slack, and a couple times today, we weren't there after the miss. We still didn't get there. So,
hey, that run into the ball situation, it's probably worth at least 2 more turnovers in any given game. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah.
Yep. There's another question from Joey. He said, my problem with the D is that nobody is really stepping up and making a real statement. Yeah, there's no one, we saw that today. In fact, we mentioned him before, this Eddie Walls. He just was, again, he had a great game. We don't have anybody like Eddie Walls. He said, we don't have a Mike Fox or a Pac-Man or a Daryl Talley. I want to see someone on D embrace the Mountaineer spirit and be like those guys. But it is what it is, huh?
Well, let's just put it this way. A lot of these guys, they're just trying to play the game, and they don't even, they've just learned the defense this year. And, not to give it any excuses or nothing, but, they're still trying to figure it out. We're not exactly, out there shutting people out yet. So I think they're learning how to win games, and the leadership will rise to the top if it's there, and maybe they're all 11 of them, because you need all 11 of them to do the exact job they're there to do. Because if you don't, there's going to be a hole in the defense. So for the most part, we got to keep teams down. I'm not, I like 17 points or less as a goal, maybe 20 with these high-flying offenses, especially in the Big 12. But you can't let them have points. I want to be stingy. Don't give them no points. I don't care if my team can score 100, but I sure as heck don't want the other team to score 99. So that's kind of where, you got to think about that.
Yeah. Hey, Greg, are you watching Kelly has a question here. Are you watching the Arizona State, Iowa State game?
I'm actually watching Texas Tech, Kansas State. I'm not watching that game, so I don't know what's going on there.
Well, we know that Arizona State lost their quarterback.
I don't know who that is.
We know they lost their quarterback,
Yes.
But they're acquitting themselves well against Iowa State. Who's ahead of that game? Do you know? Arizona. I'll look it up. But Arizona State was ahead the last time I looked. I'll look it up right now.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know.
I don't know, Kelly. We'll try to run that down. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And interestingly enough, if we continue to play like that and knock off Colorado, Arizona State's quarterbacks out, knock them off, it might come down to beating Texas Tech for us to be bowl eligible, which would be interesting. So hopefully that can happen. But of course, Texas Tech getting beat right now by Kansas State 7-0. So it could come down to that. Mike was talking about the defense and stopping the points and that sort of thing. One thing that's troubling, and I don't want to be a negative Nancy here because I'm fired up about the win, is that Arizona score ASU 24-19 with 8 minutes left. Thanks to Frank Fear for that quick info. Mike talking about the defense and the scoring. One thing that's troubling is our defense held up nicely, played a good game, did a good job, but we would give up scores so quickly at times. Several of their scores, I know the last score they had took 49 seconds. Of course, we did have an officials call there, but it seemed like when our defense did give it up, they gave it up quick. They didn't fool around about giving it up.
Yeah, I just think they get hit with some stuff that, they're not ready for at that moment in time. And because they definitely did a good job for the biggest part of the game, especially when it mattered in the second half. So I was kind of happy with some of the adjustments that was made, but they definitely, anytime I see somebody gets, over 30 points, that's not exactly winning defense, but it's, you had more points than the other team at the end of the game, and I get that, and I'm glad we was the team. But you got to compress that back, and you got to do all the little things that people talk about it, but all those little things matter. They all add up. One quarter inch at a time. If everybody's running the ball like a madman, guess what? That ball might come loose. That runner might get knocked backwards.
Yeah.
You might be able to pick up the ball and run it the other way, or you can give it to the offense that was able to convert three scores on a couple turnovers. I think today it was. So that was better than they did the first part of the year. So we'll take that. So we'll take it.
Here's another score. You got to give Vandy a lot of credit, though. My God.
Did they come back?
Yeah.
No, Texas won the game. Yeah,
by
3.
Okay. Yeah, that was interesting. A lot of population in Texas. They got a whole lot to choose from down there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Frank, that SMU Miami score shocking, and watching Miami early in the season, they look like one of the better teams in the country. And man, they've kind of taken a nosedive here lately, last 2 out of 3 games. So glad to see that as well. All right, I'm not sure if you guys touched on this before, but I want to know your thoughts on Franklin pretty much turning down Virginia Tech. Well, in one sense of the word, I was kind of hoping Franklin would take that job, give me all the more reason to dislike Virginia Tech. But I think it's funny they get snubbed. But I'm not a big Virginia Tech fan or a Franklin fan.
Yeah.
Well, hey, on another note, I don't know him personally. Of course, I don't, care for nothing about Penn State. But from a coaching perspective and a guy that helped that program along, and other coaches like him. See, this is the problem. This is exactly part of the problem from our earlier conversation we did in the pregame. You got some pretty good coaches that Franklin's a good coach. He's a very good coach. The guy down there in LSU is a very good coach. So now what you got is you got a lot of good coaches that are being subjected to a game with a uneven platform, and they don't even know how to compete on it because the playing field's on the a whole lot different now than it was 3 years ago. Okay, so what of course, win games. The more games you win, I get all that win game stuff. But the funnel to get to your team and to get to the players is a whole lot differently. So we have to figure out a better way to navigate. So if I'm those guys, because they're victims of a new system, I would definitely, whatever team I chose, I would definitely have a different set of rules for myself going into that contract where I would design this, as best as I could under the current conditions to kind of almost align with the NFL. So as far as what you could do as getting players, because that's really the only answer right this second. And they're not all going to want to do that, but I would if I was a good coach. They definitely need to have a different set of rules because it's a whole different game now. It isn't walk in someone's house and say, we're going to take care of your kid for 4 or 5 years and make sure he gets an education and does as well as he can on the field. It's like, we're going to get your kid down here and hopefully we can do something with him, or he's going to go run off into the transfer portal, right? So, but if I'm those guys, I'd be definitely I'd almost be like, Nick Saban. He's like, he knew this was coming because he saw it, and he decided to get into the broadcasting business, and probably good for him. You know what I'm saying? Let them all work it out, and then he'll see what type of platform he has to deal with. So when you went to Alabama, they had a hell of a program there for a very long time, and they had pro people teaching kids how to become pros, and that was the big thing about going to Alabama. And then then they were deep and all the stuff, and he's had a lot of success with that theory. But they had a platform that was beneficial for all that they recruited and who that they recruited, and I think that's a heck of a platform to try to reapply with the new era of NIL and potential contract contract players. So we'll have to see.
Going back to Kelly's question, I just on my handheld got to AZ Central live feed from Arizona because he said there was a player out. The only person I can think of is the wide receiver Jordan Tyson, who's also out. But having lost Sam Levitt, their quarterback, I think they're doing very well. In fact, they're in the lead. It's amazing to me because Levitt is a hell of a quarterback. At any rate, they only mentioned Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver. If there's another player, they're not mentioning who it is. So that's the best I can find. Brian Kelly burns too many bridges again, Joey, here with fans. That's true. In fact, there was an article I read that let me see. Gotta get to Greg back in here. Greg, did we lose you? Greg, are you there? Huh.
Yeah, I don't see him.
Well, I see his picture, but I don't see his audio. At any rate, hopefully he'll be with us back soon. Question that Brian Kelly, that Joey's raising, burns too many bridges and fan supporters everywhere he goes. Notre Dame fans were happy when he left for LSU, and now he's burnt bridges there. He may be a good coach per se, but bad personnel. There's already bad press about the circumstances regarding his departure in terms of, well, there were a lot of bad press. It goes around. I mean, the governor, they fired the AD too, et cetera, but some folks were negative toward him or on the inside, him being Brian. So I think Joey's got a point. But I knew him because here in Michigan, he was the head coach at Grand Valley State, won a couple of national championships in D2, excellent. Then went to Central Michigan, not far away from where I am right now, only about 45 miles away, did very well there. Went to Cincinnati, did extremely well there, then Notre Dame, and now LSU. But he is he's a different personality, not relational, as they say. Really a lot of business, so you're going to pick up some scars along the way, I think.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I agree. You don't always have to totally like and love the person that's in charge, because I don't know a lot of places that you would in reality. And I didn't really care for how he left Cincinnati back in the day, but you know what? That's the way that game is. You're here today, gone tomorrow, trying to find the best place for you, and as far as your career is concerned, I'm not a big component of that, but it goes back to something my mom told me a long time ago when I was growing up. Don't choose the school over the coach. Choose the school over the school, because you may not have that coach. I was just fortunate enough to have Coach Nealon as my coach the whole time I was there, and a long time after I left. But you choose the school over the school. Everything else it was a different, and that was a different time. Now it's like, these coaches are bringing players with them wherever they're going, and so on and so forth. Players, coaches, etc. But yeah, I mean, I hear where he's at. I hear where you're at. I just, you know,
Yeah, I
he's
agree.
still,
No,
it's
no
still, other
question.
than all that, he's still a good coach, and someone's going to
No
land him.
question.
So
That's right. We put this up before, but I'm going to put it up again because it's unusual. The time has already been set for the Colorado game next week, and it is very unusual for a game a week away to be set, before that week. Usually it's Sunday or Monday of the week. And the reason, and I think this is important for people reviewing, the game's going to be televised on TNT. So that means that ESPN and Fox did not pick that game. So it's going to be on TNT. And Greg and I were talking with Mike before the game. Bad news for a lot of for YouTube viewers, because they got into a fight with ESPN and Disney, and all the Disney ESPN channels are now, at least for a while, off YouTube. So if you have a subscription and get your TV package through YouTube, all the games that are on ESPN and all the channels of ESPN, you're not going to be able to watch. And that's a real bummer. I hope that can get resolved. But again, the more important issue in terms of our schedule is that next week, make sure if you watch that game at noon, it's on TNT and not on either ESPN or Fox. And that's why it was scheduled so early. I mean, that's really unusual these days. Yeah, and I agree with Joey Foster. I think it would make sense. Penn State will be praying that Brian Kelly, actually not Brian Kelly, but there's more talk about Franklin going to Virginia Tech. I don't know the nature of Kelly's contract, but my understanding, Mike, is that the hope at Penn State, and this is the standard for so many contracts with coaches, if they go elsewhere, that means that the former school's fiscal or financial responsibility is reduced significantly. I think Frank.
yeah.
Go ahead.
And that same thing they do for coaches could potentially be the same thing they do for players. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just wordage, it's just money. Then this way you're moving a player and you're getting a player, and then you're going to take some liability off of yours and you're going to put some liability back onto yours. I get it. Yeah, because the basics of that contract is, Penn State owes him, but he has to go shop himself. And then if he can get a contract, say from Virginia Tech, I think he's making $8 million or something a year. And if Virginia Tech gives him $5 million, then Penn State still owes him the $3 million. So that's kind of how I think that works. So the other schools, whoever gets them, they could play that card and say, hey, he's, mitigated as much damage as he can from Penn State, and that because obviously the environment is still unstable for college football, especially in the business cycle of it. There's a whole lot of things that need to be done that we're going to see who's going to step up and do it, and that'll be that. So he if that's how that works, that's pretty much I think what I read a couple weeks back.
Yeah, good point. I was going to check on this today. I didn't before, but I know Colorado's playing today. Let's take a look at who they're playing and what that looks like, because now all of a sudden that game obviously has a lot more importance.
Did they give a time on that game yet? Colorado and West Virginia?
12 o'clock,
okay.
noon on TNT.
Okay.
Today they play Arizona at 7 o'clock. And again, that's on Fox. So for those of you who have YouTube, you're going to be able to watch that. It's on FS1 at 7 o'clock against Arizona. Arizona's dropped to 4-3. They're still in the hunt, obviously, for a bowl game. But, who would have thought that there would be a possibility that that Colorado would come into the game next week at 3-6, and that may be, in fact, what's going to happen. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah. So, yeah, things have not gone very well for him, and I'll tell you, in Boulder, he has a lot of fans around the country. I hear from a lot of them, Coach Prime. And are you surprised at how difficult it has been for him in Colorado?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think it's difficult for him. He's got football, acumen of he knows what needs to happen. So I don't really see it that way. I see it like you got everything on the front end here, and everything is going to lay on the coach. Then the next person that lays on is the quarterback. But everybody's infrastructure from the school perspective and the structure of the whole environment of the team is completely unstable. So the only thing I can say is, like our earlier conversation, we have to restabilize NCAA college football. It's not like 32 teams in the NFL. It's 140 basic teams. And then there's more teams. There's like almost 800 colleges across the country. So, but there's about 140 of them that are mostly, up there. And, and they probably need to change the top 25 to the top 35, and they need to rank them every 35 teams, 35 and 35 to 70 and 70 to 100 and something. So then this way everybody knows. And then they could use it as a feeder system, if they need to trade colleges or trade players and trade the contracts and whatever, then they should do that, because all it's going to do is, could you imagine this? Could you imagine having a college draft every year with 140 schools, and then everybody else is a free agent? I mean, would that not make ESPN, go crazy? I think that'd be pretty wild, actually. So, more draft parties, more things. I can't even believe what the NFL has done. I mean, these drafts today are unbelievable. It's like a holiday draft. It's like a big party and this draft, and they pick a city. I mean, I think that's just unbelievable in a good way. So just helps promote the game, and I think that's kind of where college is going to need to head, especially if they want to create stability in an environment that's unstable. So, and a lot of them, they're gonna, the biggest thing is the biggest no. They're gonna have to revenue share, and I'm sure that's gonna piss off some of the higher dollar schools, because if you revenue share, then you could split the money up equally. The worst team gets the best players, like a draft, and then all of a sudden you'll create an equilibrium. So then you're going to be forced to have a platform of success to help train these kids properly, because that's the only way that's the only thing in my head that makes sense. So people won't like it as far as the money's concerned, but step up now or get past the top 70 teams. You'll be down 70 and under. So that's how I see it.
Go ahead, Greg.
Okay, I think I'm back now, but Mike, I've talked about, and Frank and I have talked about, this whole situation with college football. Why not go to, an NFL model where you have, divisions in, the Southeast, the Northeast, the Midwest, Southwest, the West Coast, the Southwest Coast, and have those divisions like the NFL model, and then, play it down and have wild card teams making the playoffs. You have all your regional rivalries in place for the TV networks. I would think the TV networks would go crazy over that. We've talked about, would you rather, if you're ABC, would you rather show Pitt, West Virginia, or, West Virginia, Kansas? You know what I'm saying? And nothing against Kansas, but if it's Pitt, West Virginia, that's a big rivalry on the East. Everybody's going to watch that on the East Coast. People like that rivalry.
Listen, it's technically regionalizing a product, okay? If you don't regionalize the product and you spread it thin, it just creates a crappy market condition, okay? I'm not saying you can't make it, but the truth of the matter is, if you just let's just keep it simple. Let's typically take the number of 140 teams. Now we know there's 800 colleges, so we don't want to leave anybody out because they could be all part of the process. But let's take 140 teams, and we're gonna have 35, 35, 35, and 35. 35 different type of, the top 35, the next 35, the next 35, and the next 35, and break it up regionally. And I think you could actually make something out of that makes sense for everybody. You would not only, bring the equilibrium back to the marketplace, you could actually, get that competing, and the TV, like you talked about, regionalize. You can't spread a product too thin unless it's a worldly product. And some of these teams, they're even though they're known across the country, but they're pretty strong where they stand to start with, and then you kind of ripple the effects out from there. But other than that, you're going to just run into another team. You know what I'm saying? That's all.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think, like I said, we've talked about that. This NFL model, there's no reason why, fans would love it, first of all. And I think, the TV networks, who, let's be realistic, are controlling a lot of this. And, if they want to continue to grow college football like the NFL has grown its product, why would they not do that? And I just think this makes so much sense, to get this thing in a regional type setting with divisions. And then there's no question either, always the big controversy every year, and this always pisses me off, is you have the preseason rankings come out. Well, you got Alabama, and you got Ohio State, and you got Michigan and Notre Dame. They're always up there. West Virginia's looking in at number 30. West Virginia wins 5 straight games. They move up to number 22, okay? And then they lose a game. They drop clear out of the picture. Alabama starts off at number 1. They win their first 4 or 5. They lose a game. They drop down to number 7. It's just unfair the way that's all set up. And then when you get to the playoffs, it's really unfair. So why not?
It comes.
If you have your divisions, and I'm the first team in that division, I win that division, I'm in the playoffs. If I'm a second place team, I'm in the wild card. Why not do that? That would be fair to everybody. TV markets, I have to believe, would absolutely love this, and I just don't know why. I mean, maybe they are talking about it. I don't know, but
plus it would
just seems,
they would stabilize it.
Yeah, it just seems like right now there's just such a money grab. The Big Ten, the SEC are having I'm not going to say it, but they're having a contest between each other, who can be the biggest, and the money thing is driving everything that they do.
Well, I hope that everybody makes as much money as they can from a school wise, because in the end, I think in the end it'll be just called shared revenue, and they will cut it up amongst the teams, and then they will create a cap, and then once you create the cap, if you go over the cap, you got to pay more into it, because it's a penalty. In the NFL, you can buy the biggest team you want, but you will pay a penalty for that type of service, and the league gets the money. So I mean, I can see how all that could technically work in the NCAA, because why wouldn't you? Because first, in the old days, everybody, like, we were independent when I played at West Virginia. Because why? When you're independent, if you win it all, you get it all, right? So,
right.
But then when people joined let's join the big, like like Penn State joined the Big Ten, so they're like, so that Big Ten money was all split up. Now you got, more people in the Big Ten, but I mean, that's just more money coming to the Big Ten. So, and I don't know how they're doing it exactly right this second in time, but I can guarantee you there's a whole lot of money in their coffers. So enough to do something like what I'm talking about.
Well, Frank, Frank,
Yes.
I think you and we need to start throwing our weight around a little bit with, as worldly famous as we are and as influential as we are, we need to establish a commission, and we need to make Mike Fox the commissioner of the commission.
Well, there you go. I can do
get
it.
this shit straightened out.
Yeah, I can do it.
I guarantee you could.
Yeah.
I guarantee you.
Yeah, I agree.
I guarantee you.
I agree.
A person thinking, a person that's thinking about the college football fan and the game of college football and what needs to happen and what's good for everybody and what's fair, it's pretty good, and it's pretty simple for us. But when it comes down to people in the SEC, the Big Ten, who are only worried about the dollar bill and their prestige, then it gets a little bit cloudy.
Yeah, and the irony of that last part of your statement, the prestige and the money. The irony of that whole statement is if they would do something similar to what the hell I'm talking about, they'd actually have more money. So it's like. Here's the answers to the test, people, and you're allowed to cheat, okay?
Yeah. Just do what you need to do. Anyway, Frank, I don't know if we have. I can't see the screen well enough to see if we have any more comments or anything going on. But I think if I'm thinking right, Tanner Russell was the only one of us to pick WVU. So. We got an outsider sneaking in on us.
Well,
yeah, in fact,
good for him. So good for him. He didn't give up. The spirit of the WVU Mountaineers is still rolling. So way to go. I just didn't think we had it in us because as far as the game and the points, I knew we got a little bit better last week, but I didn't know we were going to get this much better. So I'll take the improvement, and I'll take the victory, and I'll even take the fact that I picked the wrong team. So there you go.
Yeah, Tanner's pick was 45-38. That's what he had, 45-38, West Virginia.
There you go.
Pretty good pick.
Yeah.
And,
pretty good.
And pick. I only picked. I figured I know we could at least one way or the other, no matter how a game goes. Rich always seems to get at least 20-something points on the board. So
you were close too, Mike, 38-24. So that's good. No, you had.
But I picked the wrong people. I picked the bad guys.
So did I. Greg was 37-17, West Virginia, and Mickey was 31-20. So you're pretty close there too, Greg. I think you won it. I'll have to calculate. I think you won it.
And this is exactly why I don't bet or gamble at any time in my life because it wouldn't pay off for me. So
that's right. No, I understand. So very good. Well, as you said, you opened it, Mike. You said, or you said in the pregame show, which we all agreed with. You want to see progress, but you said at the beginning of this show, there wasn't just progress; it was a win, and that was just. Boy, it was an
impressive win under the current conditions of what we're dealing with. It was an impressive win. We beat a ranked opponent. It's been a minute since I think we beat a ranked opponent, so I think we ought to just take that all in and enjoy that for the day. You know what I'm saying? So,
unlike I'm showing now, you can't see it, Greg. ISU lost at home to Arizona State through an incomplete pass on 4th and 1. From Arizona's 30 and lost the game by 5. Talk about a team that's had highs and lows. Earlier in the season, it was high, and now they're out of it. And that's just, I know the Cyclone fans, and it's always difficult. But I think it's especially difficult for them because, Iowa State really didn't have much except for just a few years here and there, Johnny Majors and Earl Bruce. And now that with the current regime, they've had some really good teams, but this has got to be really disappointing in mid Iowa.
Yeah, and the other part of Iowa State, if I'm incorrect, somebody correct me, but I think Iowa State has given West Virginia a hard time at least the last 5 times that we played them, right?
Oh, bad.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So.
Yeah, that's
But
it. And Maryland's back at it. Excuse me, Indians. That's Indiana, not Indians. The Indians are beating Maryland.
I know. I read that, and I'm thinking, wait a minute. I thought Toronto and LA was playing in the World Series.
Well, Cleveland is pissed. Cleveland is pissed that they're not in the World Series, and so they decided to get their team out there to play Maryland. But no, that's not a lot of points for Indiana, but they're a great team.
That's really good for Indiana.
Frank,
you know what I'm saying?
About all this, you look at the Big 12 and the way it's unfolding, and you just think, if we could have just had the team we had on the field today, all year long, what damage we could have done in this Big 12, because it's wide open.
Well,
anybody can win this thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Texas get beat right now.
Yeah, here's a real good tidbit for you. They started to play better last week. They didn't win that game. They played much better this week, and they actually won this game. They beat a ranked opponent, and so maybe this is where maybe this is the last part of the year where they actually turn the corner and start getting some W's under their belt. I mean, I know that the schedule looks tough anyways, but it's been tough. So I mean, maybe they just figured out now if we might as well just keep going and maybe win a couple more games and have a little bit of Mountaineer pride, you know what I'm saying? So, and if they can get in a bowl game, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, that's a question that was raised a little bit. Texas Tech has just gone ahead of K-State at K-State. I think K-State has a chance to win that game, obviously, but there's a question that Joey raised some time ago and said, can we run the table? And I answered it. Here it is. See what you guys think. My odds of West Virginia running the table from here are only about 5%. What do you think? And I responded, I think there's a really good chance against Colorado. I think we'll be favored in that game. I think ASU, we've got a better chance now that Sam Leavitt, is the quarterback, is out for the year. But Arizona State going to Ames and winning, they're a good team, great coach. Texas Tech is a tall order. I wouldn't give it 5%. I'd give it more like maybe 30, 40% that we could run the table. What do you guys think? Greg?
I mean, Texas, if they could actually come out and do like some type of reproduction of what they did today, I think they could beat the next 2 teams. But I think Texas Tech will be a tough team, and I'll give them a 50-50. If they keep playing like they're playing, then it could be anybody's game. If you play like what I saw today, they actually had a chance. But if they do anything like what they did before, after the Pitt game, so to speak, then I'm going to say that'd be tough to beat Texas Tech. So.
Yeah, that's right. We lost Greg again, it looks like. He's having trouble today, and that's disappointing. We're almost done here. I'm looking at the clock, and we're at 60 minutes, which is usually our length of time. Let's see if there's Greg. He's back. So, are you with us now, Greg? Yeah.
Yes, I'm having some really difficult audio problems here. Hearing you guys. And we're getting close to an hour, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And Frank, looking forward to seeing you Wednesday night.
That's right.
With Sean Pryor. It's going to be great. I had a good conversation with him this week. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for that. Mike, thank you so much for joining us. Love you, man. I love listening to you talk. I love you getting your input. And
love you too.
To talk to you again. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. You guys can wrap it up.
Have a good birthday, buddy.
Okay, Greg, I'll bring it home. Thanks a lot. Yeah, and
right,
just to put up here our little graphic. I don't think you know this guy, Mike, but Sean Pryor has a radio show called Prior to the Snap out of Oklahoma City area. Very, very, very popular show. I think his Facebook site has about 10,000 followers, and he's been with us before, and he follows Big 12 football, follows OU, follows Oklahoma State, follows Nebraska and Texas, and he's going to talk football with us next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock on both the New River Network as well as the Voice of College Football. It's a special show for us because it's our 100th Wednesday show. So we've been on this will be our 100th show. And then let me switch to this. Let me see. I want to do this again for those people who missed it. Happy birthday, Greg. We missed him having it at the end, but we're really appreciative of Greg and everything he does. Too bad he couldn't be at the end. And then we'll be here next week for another pregame and postgame show. And as I mentioned, next week's game is at noon, but it's going to be on TNT. So make sure you make a note of that, TNT. I will not be with you next week, but we're very, very pleased to have our good friend, I'm trying to think of his last name, Shane Stadtmiller. Why am I blanking on names? He's also on the network. Shane Stadtmiller will be joining Greg for both the pregame and the postgame shows, and we're looking forward to that. A couple more comments, Mike, before we sign off here. Just thank yous to Greg. Happy birthday. Thank you, Afton. We appreciate that. Also from Joey. Any final comments, Mike, before we sign off here?
I just think that, today was a good day for West Virginia Mountaineer football. Let's take all the positives that we got with it. We can always fix all the negatives. I think that it was a very good game for them. And, it was a game that could potentially help spark them to, have a better end of the year, to build off of into going into next year. And there's a chance if they can keep playing like they're playing, that there's a chance that they can win the rest of their games and potentially have a big challenge against Texas Tech at the end. So I just, sometimes you have seasons like this. I understand it. I get it.
But we saw today a team that looked in the Rich Rod style. That's what we saw today. A quarterback who could run, defense that was up to the task. And as you mentioned, and I think this is not just a road game today. It was not just a road game. This was a top 20 team. And so it was impressive. No question about that. At any rate, thank you all for watching. We really appreciate. Thank you again, Mike, for doing both the pre and the post.
Yep.
Always great. Always great to see you, buddy. And thank you all out there for watching. For Greg, this is Frank and Mike, and we'll see you on Wednesday night at 7 with LaShawn Pryor. And then next Saturday, same time as today, 10:30 for the pregame show, about 3:45 for the postgame show against the Colorado Buffaloes. So take care, everybody.
Have a good evening.